Okay, here we are. We are back. Welcome to episode 562. We're doing another Understanding Python deep dive. This time we're talking about two species of Python that newer people, they may not even know that these exist. I don't know. We're talking Wetar pythons, Liasis dunni, and Macklots pythons, Liasis mackloti, right? Did I say that right?
I think it sounds good to me. That's what I would have gone with. Yeah.
I've kept Macs, but not dunni. I remember having Macs and moving them on. I went and saw an adult in a pet shop, and I just, like when you see them as hatchlings, younger ones, newborns, all that kind of stuff, neonates, they don't look the same as adults. And I remember, so the Macklots that I originally sent to you, I went to this pet shop, and then I was like, oh, I need them again. And then I got them again. And then I ended up
coming over to my house. Yeah,
I think so. Well, yeah. And then
I just sent you a picture because I figured I went through and I got all these pictures together of my Macs and my dunni.
Okay.
And there's a picture of Glitch like in my hand, and you can see just how different his head is. And then compared to him as an adult now, like you can still kind of see it, but drastic change.
Is Glitch in the bucket?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's too big to not be. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. The other one is one of Mike Curtin's evil demon children that I have.
Oh, yeah, I can tell.
Yeah.
Mike,
it'll love me eventually.
Mike Curtin has a very specific picture-taking look.
Yeah. Yeah, and I steal his pictures. So
yeah. So yeah, let me. All right. Well, I'll get.
We'll get into that. Yeah.
In there. So, I don't know. I just love the way that Python looked, and you've kept both. So I don't know.
I currently have both. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the whole? Just an overview of like, what do you think about them? I know the Macklots is one of those things where it's like
I'll die on that hill. I
just want to breed them.
Yeah, I'll die on that hill.
I have to breed.
Once they breed, I will seriously take a look and be like, how many do I have? All right, we need to slim this shit down. It's like we expanded just so I can kill it finally. And then, but I do love Max. And the thing is, I think it's one of those things where you get one animal that sets your expectations for the species. And then as you get other animals that aren't that animal, you're like, well, I don't know. Thank God he came first, because I don't know if I had kept up with the species. You suck. Like it, yeah. So Glitch being what he was helped kind of pave the whole road for the whole Liasis thing for me, because he's he's bulletproof. He doesn't give two shits. He's missing an eye. He's fine. I mean, he just keeps rolling, baby. So he's been sent now to
Ryan.
I think I mailed him. No, he's from Ryan. Ryan produced him. But I mailed him to Dennis, I think, and KJ. So he's been on breed loan like 2 or 3 times, and he's come back. No eggs, but no success at all. But yeah.
Wow.
It's just,
has Dennis has produced Macklots?
Dennis has produced Max. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, we're going to get into that. We're going to do the deep dive. We'll talk about their natural history, and we'll talk about keeping them and breeding them, where they're from, and all that kind of stuff. And we'll talk about where they are in captivity and what's available and all that stuff. So
we even talk about that one time where I let slip that there was a adult female dunni. And KJ swooped in, yeah.
Well, yes, I want to get that
it's
all
part of the breeding story of the United States.
All that, because you were quite involved in that whole process. So when we get into that, for sure, I want you to
I am a small footnote, and the footnote is what an idiot.
I think with the dunni in particular, it was like one of those species that sort of, for whatever reason, just kind of got lost in the whole hobby. And luckily, there was some still floating around, and we'll get into that. But they were one of those python species that almost, just disappeared. Not because nobody cared about them, but just because, there just
rules and pitfalls and all that other stuff. And it was one of those where, I think Nick told us once that he had to pay to have them imported back into the country, like an animal that was established here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, let's start at the beginning with,
in the beginning, there was the Big Bang that caused the universe to
Was it the Big Bang? I don't know.
I don't know. We're not going to get into that. Yeah. Let's stick with just science. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we got Liasis macloti, and then we have, which the common name we call the Macklots python. Some people call them freckled python because they have like these gold,
which I think
splashes throughout their scales.
But there's so many other things that have that freckling. Like, have you seen a Timor python? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, it's
100%
freckled python. What about that?
Their freckles aren't the same.
Yeah,
they have to be gold freckles.
Yeah, no, they have to be different kind of freckles. All right.
And then the Wetar python, which most people call Dunn's python, Dunai. The Wetar is just the island that it's from.
Yeah,
and, So taxonomically, they used to be subspecies of each other. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, I think at one time they were considered like just another version of a water python.
They were all under the same kind of thing. Yeah.
So they were, the complex, I guess, if you want to call it that, or the Macklots complex. It was the freckled python or the Macklots. Then we got the Wetar, and then the Savu kind of falls into that. So,
because I think the Savu, they thought it at one point. At one point, I think Dunai, Savu, and Macklots were under Macklots python, right? Yes. Right. So if it wasn't an olive and it was in the water, it was a Macklot. It's like, well, but there's some stuff going on here. So yeah,
and I think I don't know. I didn't really get into deep diving into the Savu python. We'll leave that for another. I probably should have put them all together, but we'll leave that for another time.
This is what you need to know about Savus. They're psychotic little orange a-holes. Okay. And
I figured I'd let you get them back in before we get rolling with that again.
I haven't even brought them downstairs yet but it's like, oh my God, dude. Like and I got another one. So I have a trio and I'm like, okay, well, the one from Ish, it's been with Ish. Ish has been dealing with it. It's clearly going to like out of the cage, flying all around. I'm like, well, God damn it. Like, all right. So, yep. So it seems to be a species problem.
So I've had that same problem, which is why I don't have Savus at the moment. Yep. So currently, that is the correct and accepted nomenclature for the taxa since I think Carmichael et al. In 2002 did it. Rawlings in 2004. Carmichael again in 2007, and then the Barkers in 2015 and 2017. Yep. So you can go and look up those papers and all if you want to get into taxonomy. But basically, they're full species now. So it's Liasis macloti, Liasis dunai, and Liasis sabuensis is the three that make up that complex. So let's talk about Macklots. They're a medium-sized python, probably I would say same size as a carpet, 5 to 8 feet, probably.
Let's put it this way: a healthy Mac is the same size as a healthy carpet. Yeah. Could you, if pushed, get a Mac to be absolutely massive? Oh, fucking course you could. Should you? No.
They're medium sized.
There's always that one guy that's like, my Mac eats bunnies, and I'm like, you've broken it. It's broken. It'll never be. I don't know why.
The guy that had that crazy morph and he feed it, and it was like 12 feet long.
It was like there's always people when we were getting into this. There seemed to be the people who were like, well, if I can't sell it because it's a normal, I'll sell it for more money because it'll be massive. And it's like, but that's not good.
That's not good.
So it's like, yes, this is my 14-foot Macklots python, $5,000. I'm like, no one's going to give me that. Oh my God. And so, I had some big ones. I had an 8-footer.
Did you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that was my thought. 5 to 8 feet is.
It was an 8-foot female.
Well, here's the thing with Macklots. Females are typically larger than males.
Yes, but it was an 8-foot male.
Oh,
yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah, I was.
Wait, did you have this male prior to your change in feeding?
Well, yes. No. Okay. I got this thing because I had been hunting for a Mac.
Okay.
Because I had a pair of Macs. I moved out here. My female became egg-bound and died. And that began the steady march of what this hell of a project has been for me. Right. Is because I've been looking for another female. I didn't want to get a baby. I just wanted to grab an adult. I grabbed an adult. It turned out to be a male. Whoops. Ended up getting rid of that, keeping glitch. Sent them a couple breed loans. Got another female. She died of cancer. Got another female. Ended up not working out with that one because something was wrong with it. And now I'm decided just to grab as many Macklots pythons as I could, and we're going to get this done. So,
right. Yeah.
But yeah, that was I got it because I thought there's no chance in hell a male would be this big. It has to be a female.
Right.
I know it was a boy. So yeah.
Every time.
Every goddamn time.
So there hasn't been male to male combat observed with Macklots, but we'll get into the Dunai. The appearance of this species can vary quite a bit based on what island they're from, which I found interesting. And so most of them in captivity are from Timor. Right. However, there is that other one.
The Roddy Island.
Yes. So they seem to be, you have one?
I had one. I had a Roddy. Well, I will put, I'm going to put a little disclaimer in here. He doesn't listen, but I'll put a little disclaimer in here for Eric Kohler. I had a Roddy Island type Macklots python because I could not trace it back to a known import from Roddy Island. Okay. And the fun thing about Roddy Islands is that if you cross a Roddy with a Timor, you will get some that look kind of, this, like you're looking at this picture of this one from Roddy Island. It's very dark, very few gold scales.
Yeah, I like this look.
Oh, it's a great look. I love that look. But you can get that by if you took that animal and bred it to a Timor, some of the babies would kind of look like that. Maybe more gold scales, but still less than what would be considered normal in a Timor.
So I would guess that the people that are hardcore about pythons, Ryan Young, Eric Kohler, Nick,
Dennis has some Roddies.
That they keep them separate.
Yes. They would be the ones that would keep them separate. They would be, that's the reason I had a Roddy Island type and I sent it to Dennis because the only thing I could do with her would be to breed her to a Timor. And I think I would lose my Liasis card if I did that. So
yeah.
So I sent her to him. Whether he ever got her to breed, I'm not 100%, but that's, those are the things that we've ended up finding out. But it's weird because some animals. This is my Roddy Island type. Oh, cool. All right, hold on. I will send you a picture of mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I have.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I know. See, aren't you glad that I'm here with you and I have these things that I can
always have?
Like reach into I reach into my old lady bag and I go, I got that. It's like, oh,
yeah, somewhere. Here it is.
How the hell do you have that? It's there.
Let's see. Oh, I know what I want. Shit. I know what I did wrong. All right.
That's not. And you can see between comparing that picture you just put up and the one I just sent you, you can see that mine has more gold flecks, but definitely a lot of that base kind of like, I guess, gunmetal gray stuff. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So is there a difference in the belly? Like,
not really.
No. Okay. Yeah. So they sort of both have that.
They kind of like, mixed up blocky
dark belly. And yellow scales. Okay.
Yep. But that was my Roddy Island because you can see she's very dark and she had very few scales of goldish stuff. So
So I didn't look this up. Are they still imported as we?
Roddies are. I don't know because I don't know. I know that COVID in 2020 kind of put a kibosh on a lot of importation from Indo. and I'm not 100% sure of what, as far as Rode Islands have been brought in or have seen. It used to be that you could see a lot more wild caught Macklots pythons.
Right.
And now it kind of seems that there's a lot of captive born and bred Macks out there.
Right.
So maybe it's not worth it to bring them in. If a captive born and bred baby Mack is $400 or $500, is that really worth doing all that stuff? I mean, they would sell them for $400 or $500, and they paid like $100 for them, if that, to get them over here. So now it's like, well, how much would it cost me to get it over here just to sell it for that $400 or $500? I don't know.
Right.
And you have to go cheaper because those are the captive born and breds are $500. So you have to be like, what, 3?
Probably. Yeah.
Might not even be worth it.
I wonder if Buddy Buscemi back in the day, he bred Macklots, when, before Macklots were cool.
Yeah. Before they were cool. Yeah.
I think it was in the 90s.
Right?
I
think he said that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It was either the 90s or the early 2000s, but
yep.
There's another island that they come from, Samal, and they're typically darker too, but I couldn't find anything of them in captivity. It wasn't
in the Barker's book at all?
Well, that's where I got that from.
The other one, the Roddy
the
thing,
other locale. But I think for me, I kind of like that darker look. I think the yellow pops more. That's sort of like their chins are, usually more yellow and sort of got those belly scales where you can kind of see it on the bottom.
When the darker gray is the base color, it makes everything else pop. It's like the effect that a Timor python has. It's a dark color and then a ton of bright colors slapped on top of it. It's like, there you go.
Yes, very similar face wise.
Exactly. Yeah, so 100%. That's where it kind of sticks out for me. I did love my Roddy. It's just I got it into my head that she was being wasted here.
Yeah. That's always I forget where we were talking about this, but it was sort of like this topic of, if you have a snake and it's a rare locality, do you hold on to that snake to sort of, wait for an available one to come along? Or if you know somebody that has that locality, do you do the
that was the thing is when Chris had all those scrubs, what the hell was the one that had multiple types? It was like type 1, type 2, type. Was it a Roo?
Yeah,
I think it was like it might have been a Roo. Yeah. So
type 1, type 2.
Yeah. So people had a Roos and they're like, I have a type 1 female and I shall only purchase a type 1 male. I have a type 1 male and I shall only purchase a type 1 female. I'm like, can we kind of get on the same? No. All right. And then that would be it. They would just it was like a Mexican standoff over who was going to, because everybody wanted to be the one to produce it. Yes. But nobody wanted to work together enough to the point where you gave up your chance to produce it to allow somebody else to do it. So
the dark days of scrub pythons.
Right, exactly. So what they did is they just waited until somebody either it's almost like he would wait and watch and hope that this dude finally reached the end of his rope and sold his entire collection and he'd swoop in and grab the Aru that you wanted. Meanwhile, you have importation still comes in and you're like, I need an Aru that looks like this. And of course the importer's like, oh yeah, it totally looks like that. You open the box and it's a type 2 or type 3. Because that's what I started becoming disillusioned is they had the type 1s that nobody could pair and everybody kept getting type 2s. And then at one point they found a different one. They're like, this is clearly type 3. I'm like, can we they're all fucking Arus at this point. Maybe it looks different. All right. Like maybe that's it. So
I never looked into that. I just went with the Aru type 1, type 2. Is it because they came from different islands in the chain? Because Aru is like a bunch of islands in a chain. It's not just like one island. Right.
That would make more sense to me if it was Aru and then this island. Okay, now we know where we're at. Now we know where to start. Now we can start negotiating. Is it an Aru from this island? No, don't want it. But instead, they were like Aru type 1, type 2, and there was no kind of clear definition of what was I'll know it when I see it. All right. Like it's, in the meantime,
and then you see a wild one and you're like, wait a minute.
Right. And then you're looking at it like it. So the problem is that you had these animals that had, settled into captivity fantastically.
Yeah.
But you won't breed them together because they look different. Now, again, if it's island locality stuff, I can understand the hesitance, but if it's all from the same island and they just look a little different, do it. Yeah. Like, you have to do it. You have to establish the foothold. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's they I wonder, I wonder, did they back in the day, like say in the 90s, did they care about what island it came from?
I don't think they did, but then I think it became in the early 2000s. I think it became something you could put a pin on and be like, this is a different thing from this island. Like, look at White Lips.
Yeah.
They're like, this island locality of White Lips is the nicest. It doesn't freak out. It doesn't try to bite anything sideways. It's the prettiest white lip I've ever seen. Like, it looks like a white lip.
It also doesn't exist.
It doesn't look like a black white lip, and that doesn't exist. Like, and then the problem is that people got them. They came here, and then those people that had those collections is like, one dies, you let one, you sell one.
Right.
How many hops until you forget it's a locality black-faced white lip, and it just becomes a black-faced white lip?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, as soon as you breed it to something that's not their locality, now it's not
gone. It doesn't matter
anymore.
Yeah,
it's. I think with those type of species, I wonder. I guess the question would be, did people think about it that way? Like, did they just look at it as, this is just a Macklots python, so I'm just going to breed it to whatever Macklot? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, I think some people would. So I think some people who may not have been in the know, who just had a Macklots python, would come across a Rade Island female and be like, Macklots python, and then breed it and not care.
I'm sure there were people that cared,
right?
I'm sure that there were people, but I think the more mainstream of people breeding pythons back in the day, probably just whatever was available is what they bred. It's kind of like what you see with the green trees. It's like, yeah, I would love to have one from this specific locality and know that it came from that, but I got to get what I can get because this are the only ones that are imported. So if I want them, I gotta take this.
Right.
It was sort of a debate that they used to have with the scrub pythons back in the day. Like we were just saying, do you wait? Do you not wait? And like, if you didn't wait, you were like, scum.
Yeah, you were the scum of the earth. You bred a giant furra to a sarong.
How
you son of a bitch.
And they're probably neither one from either locale.
I can't even. They've changed. That's the other thing, is that the nomenclature and the literature and the general belief has changed so much.
Yes.
Also, the fact that certain localities have just come up, changed names, and then just been done away with.
Yeah.
This is an oxable. It's an orange. This is an orange.
And then it's called Highlands now.
Right, now it's a Highlands.
Is the name of it.
Yeah,
where they don't even really come from the Highlands.
Give it a couple more years, it'll just be a barneck.
Yeah, an orange barneck.
An orange barneck, yeah.
So obviously they must be from a specific spot because of how they look,
Right,
and
right.
I always, in my brain, I always go to, they look that way because of where they're from. Similar,
right.
I think rattlesnakes really sort of, drove that home for me, because you'll go and you'll find a speckled rattlesnake, depending on where it's from. It's going to be pink or white, and it's sort of like,
wherever the rocks are,
you look at the rocks and you're just like, oh, I get it. Like when we found the, oh my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name. The prettiest rattlesnake of all. Why am I drawing a blank? The face mask. The one that you saw in Arizona, and I saw the following ridge nose. Yeah.
The Willard.
What's the sign? Willard. That's the one. Yeah. Willardy.
Willardy. Yes, the Willardy rattlesnake. Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, you look at that, and then there's like you can see when you start to look at the the rocks to where we, at least for the ones where we found, they look
blend. Like, well, yeah. And that's the problem is I looked at some of these like photos of rattlesnakes in like plain sight, and now my algorithm is just totally screwed because now I just keep getting constant pictures of like landscape, and it's like spot the rattlesnake.
Yeah,
there it is. No, damn it. Like, or it's like, look at this undergrowth. There are 6 copperheads. God damn it. Like there's one. There's one.
Well, yeah, that's another example, right? Like at least, the ones that we saw in Delaware, it was, you look at the foliage that was around, and it's just like, here in the Northeast, it's like those leaves fall and they're all dead, and it's basically the leaf litter of the environment, and they blend right in. They just disappear. You're like, what the
That's the active camouflage. So, I mean, like, we saw that with the death adders in Northern Territory.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was just like, oh, those are the leaves. And it's like, oh, yeah. So it's, I would say that definitely island localities are those are the ones that survive to be able to reproduce, the ones that blend in better.
Right.
I'll also say that they kind of, once you get on to an island, you're off on your own little lane here, buddy. Like, it's just like happens to be that way. Yeah. And that's when I think the colors start changing, which is why us as keepers tend to put so much stock into a new island locality, because it looks so much different than the mainland version of this animal. And the good thing about Max is that because there are those different islands, you can see those variations. Now, whether somebody's going to start kicking down the door with that other island locality of Macklots pythons to try to rev people up, I don't know. But what if it just looks like a Timor Mac? Like, what if it like there has to be the difference? Like, looking at a Rade Island, you can see the difference. Looking at a Wetar, you can see the difference.
Yeah.
If you look at this other island and it looks like a Timor, no one cares. No one cares.
Right. I think they're one of those weird species, the two of them, that like is sort of like there's no morphs. So it's sort of like
the only morph that we had was that gold Mac. Yeah, where the guy had it, and I want to say gold. It was like yellowish. It was weird. It was huge in the pictures that I saw of it, so it was already behind the 8 ball there. It was a male, and then they never got it to reproduce. So that was it as far as Max. I have not heard of any more for mutation in Dunai. No. And I don't really care because like there's no. I know there's maybe a couple. There's maybe one in water python, which is weird because like a water python morph affects like the belly. It's like an xanthic water python looks like a water python, but it has a gray belly. It's like, okay, I want this so that the part of the snake that I will never see will be a different color. So there's that.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
I know. And I know Savu has silver. And that I think is the most popular of all the Liasis mutations, because then Olive has albino, and that's it. There's really only that's it.
Which one has albino?
Olive.
Oh, Olive. Okay. Yeah. I got thrown off. I was like, wait, what?
Which one is albino? Olive, you had albinos.
I still have a girl.
Yeah, listen, I just gave Nick money. He sent me things. I don't know what they are.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Why would I know that?
Why would I know that?
So Wetar pythons are medium sized. They're a little bit smaller than the Macklots, 4 to 6 feet. But males from Wetar Island are typically longer and bigger than females, and there has been male-to-male combat observed.
Ooh.
So obviously it's pretty rare in captivity. It's, I don't know. In the Barker's book, they said that there was really not a lot of fanfare for them back in the trade in the mid 90s. I don't know. I guess I'm going to go with that there wasn't. Maybe because they look like another version of a Macklots python. Well, I would imagine it would be similar if they all of a sudden imported another type of water python.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, would we care? Some people would.
Some people would. Some people care a lot. So I just sent you a pair the pictures of my pair of my older Dunai. So
Dunai, okay.
The Dunai are weird. So you'll notice that. So my female has the speckling on my female. There's too much of it. It almost looks like she's patternless, because if you look close, there's just a shit ton of tiny little speckles that looks almost like a granite block. But looking at her, she looks patternless until you get up close. And then she also has some dark scales. The thing is about a Wetar is the best way to describe it is take the dark gray of a Mac and replace it with a light gray, and then take those gold flecked scales and replace them with black. So that's my female.
Right.
So she looks so, like, again, patternless and so much different
than the male.
The other one, because
I like this look in the male.
Right. That is what people want in a Dunai. He is color. He's a light kind of silvery color with dark silver scales.
That almost looks like a morph to me.
Right.
Looks like a morph of a Macklots python.
Or exactly. This should be a Macklots python morph. They both should. This should be something, and then she should be a patternless, and that's it. But you'll notice the head is not like where Max. You can see the distinct differentiation between the head and the neck. Because the heads are like a different color.
Right.
It isn't. There's nothing. It just kind of is the same colored snake all the way down with these different colored flecks going throughout.
Yeah, you sort of, if you look at, so I went to iNaturalist to see if there was anything on there for them. And this one was on there.
Oh, yeah, that looks a lot like
very similar to what you have.
Yeah.
Right. So down at the tail, it gets a little more pixelated.
Right.
Up at the top, it's a little more like you would see the gold in a Macklots speckled throughout.
And they have a white underbelly, so kind of like the bottom jaw is whitish too, and it kind of bleeds down. So that's cool.
But wait, there's another one.
There's more.
There's another one that's darker, like way darker. That was also, I'm pretty sure it's Dave Barker's iNaturalist.
Holy shit!
Right?
Yeah, it's like a reverse.
So I wonder what's going on. That some of between the two species, you have both a light and a dark version.
I mean,
it makes sense. They're so closely related. I would assume,
right?
But,
I mean, I think this is going to be one of those things where it's carpet python rules. They're so variable, and just happened to be that the dark one from this clutch survived, and the light one from this clutch survived.
Right.
So, I don't know. I'm excited. Next year, I kind of did the whole false water cobra thing, like I did last year, where I was like, we'll do a test run, and then last year's test run resulted in eggs. I did a test run this year of the Dunai.
Okay.
And nothing happened. They were not impressed with each other. But next year is going to be the year that I'm actually going to push it, because they did come to me. They did come to me a little bit on the smaller side.
Okay.
They've been in captivity for a while. They're the older pair are wild caught, and I say older because I have another one, younger boy from KJ. I have no idea the age of anybody on here, except for the one from KJ. But it is the older pair. I'm going to give them a shot next year to breed. But it's kind of like one of those things where I wanted to give them a year, maybe 2 years to kind of get their act together. They've been in captivity because they were with somebody else for about 2 years before I got them.
Okay.
And I'll tell you right now, the male's a birder. He loves nothing but birds, but he'll eat 5 chicks at a time.
5 chicks at a time. Okay.
Yep. Which I don't care. Eat 5 chicks at a time. Plus,
but
you're the male.
Question. When you're feeding, so typically I sort of fell out of this to where, I mean, back in the day when I first started keeping snakes, I think that's probably why my Burmese python maxed out at like 18 feet. But like I would feed like
coming up another piglet is upright needs to go. Yes.
Yeah, I would feed like 3 prey items at a time, and I never thought about it. Right. I mean, even when it was younger, as it got older, I switched to just feeding it.
The big thing, yeah.
We feed it. I think we fed it chickens. So, like, as my dad moved to keeping more and more snakes, his big thing is that he would go to. It's not too far from me, but it's like a chicken farm, I guess, and they don't use the males.
Well, yeah, so, the useless pieces of shit. Yeah,
so they sell them like super cheap.
Yeah.
So he would go up and buy those, and then he would also buy like some adult chickens and stuff like that. I think rabbits. And that's what he said.
Well, I can guarantee him to you, every single chick in my freezer is a boy.
Yeah.
I mean that's given. So,
but I guess what my question was going to be is like, what? So how did you come up with that number? Did they stop? Like, what made you come up with that number that you feed them? Is that you're just trying to replicate the size of the prey that?
Yeah, because the female's eating medium rats.
Okay, and so you're just trying to get the same amount of
I don't have plus a larger bird. Like it's one of those where a larger bird is going to potentially he'll be like there's almost like you can't get a chicken that is the size of a medium rat.
Yes, right.
You can get chicks, which are the size of like an adult mouse.
Right.
Or you can get a chicken that is the size of like, just because the way the proportions work out, a large rat. And it's like, well, he's not big enough to take those. So we'll just pack on a couple more of these. And I've done that with a couple things. I have this rough scale, this younger rough scale behind me.
Right.
He's big enough to eat a large mouse, but weanling rats are way too big for him. So he gets 2 mice because you're trying to push. I'm trying to shove the boulder up the hill.
Right.
And that's the best way to do it. I've had mouser males where it's like, well, if you'll eat 2 mice, I don't need to try to worry about switching you over to anything else because you're a male.
Sure.
And you're eating a mouse. So yeah, screw it. You'll be fine. So I just do that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about where they're from and what their environment is like. So here was the map of all of the sightings of Macklots pythons on all the little red dots.
Oh my God.
Macklots pythons. Interesting enough about the island of Timor-Leste is there's sort of a couple mountain ranges in the middle. And for what I understand, they don't really like Macklots you're not really finding them higher than 1,000 meters in elevation. However, has anybody really looked?
Right.
I don't know.
Wow. I mean, could you imagine if there's a bunch of different, because there's a bunch of different islands. Yeah.
So, well, if you're looking at the map I'm showing, you can pull up a map of Timor-Leste if you want, and Roddy Island's down below the main island, and then Wetar is kind of this island that's up here.
Right.
Oh wait, are you seeing that from? Wait a minute, hold on.
I'm not seeing it, but I can read. There you go, and I can see it now. Yeah. Okay.
So. Wetar's right here.
Wetar's there, yep.
Which I think the way they have it is that they're sort of, I think that iNaturalist sort of lumps them together.
Right.
And one of the things that Dave Barker put on one of the posts was that there's current taxonomy now is that they're separate species and asking them to fix it. So I think that's why these ones in Wetar Island kind of show
up as under Mac. Yeah.
Yeah. But they're even on this little island over here. Yeah. Which I guess that makes sense. I mean, I would imagine that they can.
At one point it broke off. Yeah.
Right. And then I have another picture of a map where it shows kind of like when you start to look at Indonesian pythons, I don't know. I just found it kind of cool how there's like, that's not too far away from Papua New Guinea going this way. You know what I mean? It's like you start to see like the Maluka Island chain and all that stuff to where, we know from scrubs and whatnot. But I don't know. There's
a lot of overlap with a lot of these species just based off of what's going on. But they're also in such close proximity. And you sit there and you're like, well, of course, Australia, you're like, there's such a weird, diverse range of pythons. It's like there's that same weird, diverse range in Indo. It just is broken up because of islands and stuff.
Yeah. So they're found on Timor, Roti, and Samoa Islands, located on the eastern edge of a Lesser Sunda's archipelago in Indonesia, basically, is where the Macklots are. They're terrestrial. I was going to ask you that. Do you see? So they say that they don't really have a prehensile tail, but I would imagine it's kind of in lines of the ball python thing where they're probably in trees from time to time.
But, I mean, they'll climb. They'll sit on stuff, but they don't have they don't have a carpet tail.
No,
they it doesn't curl around. It doesn't grab stuff, but they will use their body. Like it's one of those, like they can't grab on with their tail. So they're going to throw a coil and they're going to take everything with them because it's like, it's one of those, fine, I'll just drag. Like that's the whole thing.
Right.
So
I know Sabus, man, they freaking wrap up their fucking prey like they're incubating eggs almost.
Right. Like I have to,
they got
and these little babies, dude, these three little babies, it's like I open the thing and they're like, and like they kind of run and then they realize what you're doing. And then it's just like, boom, like wrapping up the freaking things. And it's just like, I've had to kind of like, you have to hold like the foot of the hopper. And then when they go to bite it, you have to let go so they grab it in midair and like wrap it up and hit the ground.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, just have 3 different tongs with you because you're going to have to leave that one there and leave that one there. Like,
right.
Yeah.
They're found in a variety of habitats throughout the island. Like I said, there's nothing really reported higher than 1,000 meters in elevation. And they're not really associated with water, but there's been sightings near small dams and rice paddies. The theory would be that they're drawn to the rodents. And there was a thing that I guess it was a paper. Mark O'Shea had put it up, and he was talking about Dealey Island. And that was that one.
The other locality?
Well, no, this is still on Timor.
Okay.
But I'll show you where it is so people can know what I'm talking about. So Dealey is right up here.
There. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, where was that? Let's get back to this. So basically he writes, upon our arrival in Dealey, I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Probably not. At the start of the summer of 2010, they were doing a survey. We were presented with a live Macklots water python. See, they used to call it water python. Captured by AR a few days earlier. The python was found in a UN container depot on the seafront of Dealey. The property is located adjacent to a canal drainage ditch. These ditches, which crisscross with the city, are often full of water, dense vegetation, trash, presumably also rodents, and they could therefore provide us suitable habitat for small to medium size pythons preying on a wide variety of prey. In addition to this live specimen, they encountered 2 roadkill. There was a lot of roadkills on iHerp. Like probably the majority of them were DOA or DOR.
That would be upsetting. I would want to do that.
Yeah, that would be. And, we found the one king horn-eye scrub we found that was like that, like just missed it. Oh, so upsetting. But so I'll give you an idea because there was a picture in the thing that Mark O'Shea did, and it sort of showed what he was talking about. But when I think of like water monitors in Indonesia going in those canals,
oh god, yeah,
you know what I mean. So that's a pretty Macklots python.
It's weird looking, Mac. Look at it. The pattern comes all the way up to its head.
Right.
Yeah. There's a retic there for some reason.
Well, yeah, they kind of go hand in hand.
Retics do the thing. Yeah. Retic, do this. Yeah.
Well, basically, you're just looking at like a canal that there's a lot of vegetation that's coming off of it, and like it makes sense that they would be hanging out there waiting for something to come along, and boom, there you go.
Hang by the watering hole. Food will appear. Yeah.
Yep. So it's kind of interesting how they can just adapt to that if they're not usually thought to be by the water, and then you have, water there and they just kind of go with the flow. So, so yeah, that was that as far as, and then if you look at, so one of the interesting things that I saw is like, the temperature and stuff, there's really nothing going on. It's kind of like, it doesn't really change too much. It looks like it's a wet season and a dry season. And
they're the kind of species that, like, I would sit them with. I don't imagine you have to do too much of a temperature swing to get them to breed.
Right. Yeah, because here would be that was just an overall chart of the weather, but here would be a chart.
Notice because it said tourism score.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Odd. Yeah.
But yeah, it's
okay.
So
Down
basically,
in the 60s?
Yeah, 68.
Yeah.
Which is not too far off of like what we would consider.
Yeah, but you also have to consider. I mean, it's weird because we consider the lows, but then we're like the highs are like 90, 90, 94, 96. And it's like, yeah, but the snake is not out sitting in 96 degrees. So like it is.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, it is not going to do that.
One of the things I just did recently, just a side tangent, but this is sort of like got me thinking about this kind of idea of like you're looking at the temperature of this spot and is it really the temperature of where the snake's at? But anyway, those little takeout containers. So what I did is I got a bunch of those and I got some sphagnum moss and I put a hole in the top. Dude. Yeah. And then I sprayed the sphagnum moss, right? So, and I put it, sort of like half on the heat, half off, not the heat. And, yeah, man, they freaking love it.
Those are those little takeout containers, the black ones with the clear lids. I put a hole in the clear lid.
Yes.
And then I shove it full of moss. And I mean, that is the hide box now for everything.
So what are you doing to put the hole in the lid?
I took a wood burner.
Okay, wood burner.
And I just melted it around.
Gotcha. That's what I did too, but I thought maybe there would be an easier way. Yeah.
No, there's never. I mean, otherwise it cracks. If you get one of those like little drill things, it's just going to snap. So I just do that. Just take the wood burner and cut it. It didn't take that long, but all the animals I have that are so like the babies that are in 5s have those little plastic cubes with a little semicircle cut into it. And then once they get into 15s, they get those little takeout containers because you can pack it full of moss. And then when they move up to like 32s, they get a 5-quart bin full of moss. And then when they move up to a 3-footer or a 4-footer, they get a 5-gallon thing. And then I got the 10-gallon ones packed with moss and stuff like that for the big ones. It's just, it helps.
Do you notice that a lot of Indonesian pythons are hanging out in that?
God, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
God, yes. I have to go fix my Timor pythons mucked with theirs. My one white lip broke hers, so I got to go fix them. But they're always in those or on top or around. I try to keep for the Indo species. I try to keep the moss inside the bin damp or at least a little wet, especially when I'm going to go away. Because even then, they still also have large water bowls and stuff like that. But I mean, right now in the summertime, my Indo pythons don't give a shit. They're like out, they're basking, they're cruising around. It's like, this is when you start getting like a full white lip shed. And you're like, oh my God, hooray. I don't have to try to wrestle you into a water bin. Like,
Oh, good God. That must be fun.
No, it's not.
The reason that I always harp on the, precipitation and whatnot is like, especially with the Indo stuff, is that if you look at this graph, you see, it's like rain, then it kind of starts to dwindle, and then come basically July, August, September, and then October, it starts to ramp up again. But you have, like 4 or 5 months where you're getting 0.1 inch of rain and it's sweltering hot. And it, I would imagine that that cycle will definitely impact the prey species that they would be going after. And Yeah, I just think that paying attention to that makes a big deal. In my opinion,
it's needed. It's one of those things where
it's not the win all. It's not everything is there. It doesn't have to rain in your snake room, but
no. But who told us? Was it Rob? Somebody told us it was like, if you take a look, maybe it's not all about misting and stuff like that. Maybe it's more of hydration when it comes to importance for snakes. It's like, how much are they drinking? Do they have a stuck shed because it's dry, or are they dehydrated?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, right? We look at like cycling, and we all know that pythons, I don't care what species of python it is, but as soon as you put fresh water in the thing,
they're in it.
They're drinking right away. Yeah. It's like, every one I've had that. So it makes me wonder, to your point, right, with some of those, species that are a little more sensitive to, you might have to, at least at the time of year where they're going, really change their water more frequently, to get them hydrated.
You need to push it in the right direction. So like, you need to keep, and that's one of the things where it's like, if I see a white lip going blue, you missed them, you missed the cage, you make sure the water's fresh, you make sure everything's good. And if it's wintertime, you're still going to have to deal with a stuck shed. But, you do want to make sure that they have certain species. Fresh water is important. In my room, it's anything that is a white lip, anything that is a ring python, my rainbow boas too. And now probably I'm going to add the scrubs to that list too, mainly because I don't want to have to manually peel them if they get something stuck. I imagine they would be painful. So
I would think so.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's one of those things you don't really hear a lot of people talk about as far as that goes. We just assume that if the water bowl is full, that everything is good. I sort of err on the side of over it now. When I went through that whole the mite thing, and I had a stuff dying and whatnot, and I noticed that I don't know. It just, to me, it had made me rethink how I do everything and everything. And just to your point, I think it was Rob that was talking to us about this, because I kind of remember this conversation and sort of, taking those little tidbits and sort of applying it, if you will, in a way.
Right.
So
two other things. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have to change the water more than 3 times a week? I don't know. I think that's excessive, but but maybe they're drinking more at a certain time of year. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you may want to do that. I don't know. I'm experimenting with it, and we'll see how it goes. But anyway, precipitation is always one that gets in. Here's the Big Island picture that I was kind of talking about. Just so everybody kind of gets an idea of where it all kind of falls. So
Jesus.
Yeah, you can see like here's Timor.
There's Timor. Yeah.
There's Wetar right here. Yeah. Then you go up here. You got where's this is Papua New Guinea. Then you got the Moluccas Islands. What is this? It's like a picture inside the picture.
What's going on there?
It's blocking out. Here's West Papua with Fak and Sarong and Manakwari. All Waiego. Remember those? Wasn't that was a scrub type too, right? Wasn't it?
Yes.
That was a cool looking one, if I remember right.
God, dude, it's just
there's Moluccas up here. Yeah.
It's like you find an island and you hope to God you find a scrub or something on it, because then you're like, it's a new locality. You're like, okay, fine.
I guess if you're a python lover, man, Indonesia is kind of pretty.
There's a lot of fun things.
Besides Australia, it's like that old place, Borneo, that all the way up.
There's just a lot of, because you can go around the islands, but then you can find a species that like sings to you that and then you don't have to go to another like if Timor pythons are your thing, holy shit. But then you can also sink deep into just Timor pythons, where you can talk about, Timors. You can talk about the axanthic mutation. You can talk about the Rinca Island Timors.
Yeah.
So if you want to sink into Liasis, going with Max, Savus, Wetar, like you can do all that, but then you can sink in deeper to the Silver Savus. You can sink into the different island localities of Macklot. Give it amount of time. Something will happen with Wetar. Something will pop up. I know it will, because why not? Yeah,
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, look, Aru Islands right here.
Mm-hmm.
Cannonbar is here. You got the Moluccas here. You got New Guinea here. You got Halmahera at the top here. I mean, I don't know.
That's awesome.
Sulawesi, retics, all that stuff, right up there. Timor's down here.
That's the other thing, too, is like retics. We keep talking about pythons of New Guinea, and we're like skipping over like retic. Or like we're doing all these other ones. We're like, oh, yeah, those. So
the reason that I noticed in the book that you remember we had him on the show a long time ago, Jed Solowski.
I think so.
I believe he was from the UK.
Okay.
And he was one of those guys that was keeping as many localities of pythons that he could find.
Mm-hmm.
And that Wetar one is from Barrett Dea Island.
See, you've already, like I was talking about how something's going to happen with Wetar.
Yeah.
And you did. It already happened. Okay, cool. Good.
There you go.
Jeez.
So I don't know if they're still available, but maybe the localities that got shipped over. I don't know. That would have to be a question that we'd have to ask maybe Ryan or Nick. I don't.
Yeah, but herping with Ryan and Nick, and they're like, oh, there are things, young Skywalker, that you don't even know. There are projects that are happening behind the scenes that we can't talk about. I'm like, I didn't ask. Why are you saying it? Like, why are you telling me? You're kind of talking. We're kind of talking about it, but we can't divulge any further information. Okay.
I think you have one of the things.
That kind of shit.
I think you have one of the things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you did. Yes.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah. It's one of those, you're getting close when you mention that you have something, and Nick's like, well, how the hell did you get that? And like, or my favorite is I told him I had something, and he's like, of course you have it. Of course you have it. And I'm like, I'm sorry. It's like, so.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the dumb eye. Yeah.
What was the one thing? So it's funny. He posted up a picture of the African rocks that I gave him.
Yes, I saw them. They look great.
Yeah, man.
They look great. They look huge.
All that, yeah.
They would have killed you.
Yeah,
like it was.
Well, even Nick said, they're pretty chill,
a little scary,
but he approaches them.
They're a little scary
with a very, very
healthy respect.
Yes. 100%.
God.
So they're basically from dry tropical monsoon rainforest is what they're from, and we looked at the climates. They basically have a wet season and a dry season, and the one thing that they mentioned in the Barker's book, like most pythons that are found on small islands, they pretty much can be found throughout the island. So
right.
All right. Let's talk about keeping them.
Yes.
I'll let you go to that. Like, what's your talk? Tell me about your setups and all that stuff.
Okay. What you have for a carpet python, but imagine not a carpet python in there. Imagine something else.
done.
Done. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. It's really
his keeping recommendations
his,
are as good as his breeding recommendations. But boy snake with girl snake, make baby snake.
If I tell people the levels that I go to, people are going to think that, I can answer questions or that I know what I'm talking about. Yes. And I don't want that. So,
so why would you?
I don't exactly. I'd rather them just come to you and leave me alone. So
thanks, buddy.
You're welcome. Obviously, we can start with babies. So babies, exact same setup you would do for any kind of juvie carpet. Mm-hmm. If you have a rack, 5-6 quart bin, they will use perching. So if you want to put a 3D printed thing in there or a net, fine. Give them a hide. They'll hide in anything. And an appropriate size water bowl. Temp is hot spot of 85, 86, and then ambient room temp for the rest of the cage. That's great. So that's fine for babies, juvies. I bump them up from a 5 or 6 to a 15. Again, 3D printed perches, hides, appropriate size water bowl. Temp doesn't change. Okay. After that, they move to a 32 quart bin. That's for usually about yearlings they grow quick, so they can burn through that kind of stuff. Nothing
do they grow
changes.
As quick as olive pythons?
No, olive pythons grow on air.
Yes.
I don't know why. It's just you turn around and you're like, what the fuck? Yeah. I think it's also because we're medium sized python guys. When a large python disguised as a medium python sticks in there, and you're like, well, it's a baby, but it's already big enough to eat an adult mouse, and it's 4 months old. It's like, crap. It's like that's all of a sudden they start putting on size and stuff like that. So I will say with babies, usually frozen rodents is the trick to go with that. If they do not take those, it's bird all the way. The good thing about these babies is they are big enough to take the Cornix quails.
Okay.
So they'll take those. It's about the size of a hopper mouse.
Right.
So again, if you have a baby Mac or Dunai that is like, I don't want it, bird all the way. The baby boy that I got from KJ, it came up to Kohler eating and then was just like, no. And then Kohler's like, I had to hit it in the head with a quail. And then it ate quail for a while. Like he's still partial to bird. Like I just got him to start. That's why he's so much smaller than the other two. He's still on bird and he's still doing that. And he won't take the multiples like the other boy.
Okay.
He wants one and then go away. And it's like, all right, fine. So
do you try to change that by feeding him more often? Like not as much time between each meal? Yeah.
And I try to get him the bigger, like he was on quails and then chicks are just a little bit bigger than some of the other size quail. Gotcha. And he's getting there, but I like having him because he's good for if the other wild caught boy shits the bed. And also he was a gift, but
that helps.
It does. I don't want to feel bad about it, but I would like you if he got off the goddamn bench. He's gorgeous. I mean, he's pretty. So, but anyway, obviously they won't feed anything bird is fun. After they move from 32s, it's usually either to a 41 or a 3-foot cage.
Okay.
Males can be in 3-foot cages forever. Okay. Glitch is in a 3x2x2, and he's got a 5-gallon hide box with moss. He's got a water bowl. He's got, I'm going to give him a rock ledge and stuff like that for some branches in there. He'll use them. If not, he just chills. He does his thing. I'm going to be moving the Dunai into larger cages as we start doing. I'm doing a massive rearrange and shift and ditch of stuff, and she's on the list. I want the female to get into a cage because I want to set her up. I want to get the plan is to get everybody where they're supposed to be by the end of July, because then they got all of August and September to figure their shit out. Yeah, and then we're going to hit the ground running in October, because I think I did the math the other day, and I think I have like 30 something pairings for next year.
Oh wow, okay,
yeah,
you're back on the board.
I don't know why I'm doing it to myself, but yes. But
How many pythons?
A lot, because it's only like 2 carpet python pairings. Right. I think maybe 3. It might be 3.
But it's white lips, Macklots, dun-eye, roughies.
I'm sorry. There are 4 Morelia clutches, including back there. So 3 carpets, which is my Brisbanes, and then 2 caramels.
Okay.
And then after that, it's like water, olive, dun-eye, 2 pairs of golds, the scrubs, Timors, and then it's just like a bunch of various colubrids. Oh, okay. And rainbow bows.
Oh, okay. Cool.
One random bow mix in there. But yeah, it's so you got to get all that stuff. So anyway, 3-foot cages, obviously the hot spot. When they get into cages, or I like to give them a little bit of a night drop. It's not hard. It doesn't go bad during the summer months. Is usually just almost like, again, it's like a safety net. It's there to make sure that if the room doesn't go below this. So at night, the heat will go up to about 84, 85, maybe 86 during the day. And then it'll taper off, and then it'll go to into the 70s at night. And again, it's there just to make sure that it doesn't drop below 72. Now, whether the room itself gets to 72, it's not going to happen in the middle of August.
No.
But
no.
But it's there. So, and I find that is a good way to kind of give them a little bit of a time off, and they'll definitely do most of their active moving and hunting at night. I will say that with comparison between the two right now. So right now I have my adult male Mac is in a 3x2x2. I have 2 juveniles in 32 quarts, and I have 2 subadults in 41 quarts.
Okay.
And that's a max.
Okay.
The juveniles in the 41s, I have another male and a female, and then the juvies in the 32s are both girls.
Okay.
So a lot of Macklots pythons. Okay. And then the dun-eye are in 41 quarts, because I find with nervous as shit species.
Are they?
God, yes.
Yeah.
So that's the difference, is that Macs are inherently violent. Like just violent.
I remember.
You're like, oh yes.
Yes.
My 2 girls from Mike Curtin are just vicious killing machines.
Yeah.
And hopefully they will settle. Now I have the other 2 that Lucas actually found for me. They came with a little bit of an attitude, and they're starting to settle. They're ones that we talked about, like multiple feedings. Right now they're on weanling rats, and I need them to get onto smalls. So they're getting 2 weanling rats to get onto the smalls, and they're just starting to now get on the smalls. So I'm starting to see growth spurt, which is perfect. Okay. I want them to grow because I need her to be taking mediums before I introduce her to a boy, and I want to get this shit done. So maybe another year or 2 before max.
Okay.
But anyway, that's what we're pushing for. So they will immediately bite. They're going to twist. They're going to throw their whole bodies at you and do that. The dun-eye, they're like running musk, or running piss all over you. And I almost prefer the violence.
Yes, I prefer the violence.
I can take the hook and throw you into a bin, and there's no problem. When I hook the dun-eye, it's just like fire hose. Right now, those are I'm talking about the wild caught ones. The juvie that is, I don't want to say juvie, just the smaller one, the captive born and bred one. He's fine. He's chill. He's good. Right. But the other ones, you hook it and it's fire hose spray. So then you see urates all over, like their bin, the roof of their bin, the rack, the ceiling, and then the other cage behind you. And it's like, come on. Like, dude.
Wow. Okay.
So my clothes are all covered in urate. So I try not to put hands on them unless I have to. Well,
as breeders, I would say that typically that's probably what we do, right?
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, do you think any white lip in this house likes me?
No.
No, of course not.
Doesn't have to.
No, you don't have to. Don't hurt each other.
Yes.
Just make more of you.
Yes.
And then you know what? Do you think any of those little bastards like me either? No. Like,
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I remember them being quite. Cool.
They were the first one. They were the first snake I ever saw do the double S thing.
Yes,
where it's like its head is like this, and then it's got an S, and then another S.
Yes,
it's like, and then its body is like the little bit of its body that's left is on the ground, and you're like, dude, like I'm not touching you. Like I don't.
Nipper sent me a video of a boyega. And it's doing that exact thing.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
It's like almost got the Ruffy face thing going,
the
where
flat head going.
Flat head spread out.
All right.
And it's like 3 coils, like ready to spring.
So weird to compare all Liasis to each other.
Yeah.
Because they're all over the place.
Yeah. I think with olives, I don't know. For me, my olives are pretty chill, but I take the approach like Nick does with the African rocks. Like I'm not holding it. Well, I really don't hold any snakes.
Yeah,
like, I'm not a handler, if you will. You know, it's more.
I'll also tell you that my olives are always hungry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, they kind of like have that king snake woma type of thing going on, to where it's like they'll be like, you're like, what?
No, I'm not doing it. It's like I have seen my girls the day after I fed them. They have
a lump,
and they're like,
yes.
Come on, like, open the door,
give us some more.
Like, dude, no. So, I mean. It's the way it is, but then comparing them, like it's so sitting down, we can sit there and say that there's differences between various Morelia.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know that. And there's also like people like, oh, the attitude of a jungle versus a coastal versus a all that kind of stuff. Get that. But there's still a generic, like it is a carpet python. It will act like the following, where because they're all related to each other. These guys, like, Liasis, it varies from species to species, and it is drastic sometimes. Olives can be just mellow and they just want to chill and eat, where Savus are psychotic.
Do you think that it's not enough generations of captive breeding that?
I mean, maybe
that will calm down.
I mean, that might be part of it. The other part of it might be just, you know, it's basically the animal that we're dealing with. You know, is it a small, feisty little orange, reddish python because it has to be, or it's going to get eaten? You know?
Yeah, and I would imagine it's kind of like the rosy boa type of situation, to where, you know, Antaresia falls into this too, right? Where they're sort of bitey because their whole natural history has to do with them catching, you know, they're like hanging out in rock ledges and, termite mounds, or, some kind of, rock crevices, and they're waiting for a lizard to run by or whatever. And they just have to wham, like that kind of thing, to where it's
so weird, because some of the things that you would imagine that have to be like that have to be like hit first, or like, these are the nicest babies I have ever had. Like, they don't.
Oh, the Ruffies?
I've never been. They're just like.
Oh yeah, super chill. They're
not biting. They're just chill. They're just hanging. They're just laying down. They don't want to.
It's kind of a bummer, because I really wanted to see
exactly. Like, they're not like you expect the fish hook teeth monster, and it's just like
the Ruffies here are doing great, man. Fucking eating like champs. I definitely ran into issues with my previous pair, to where they weren't eating as awesome. So you've done a good job, my friend, in getting them going and getting them established.
That's why I'm like,
because I know that was difficult, because them.
Oh my God! Like, well, first off, that took years off my life. Not leading up to it. Not even it. It just the build was enough to freak me the hell out.
Yeah,
but it's one of those things where you know, I like the idea, and people do this all the time where it's like, I would like a Madagascar. I hate this. Like, do you have Madagascar hognose babies? Well, yeah, I got like 4 that are ready to go right now eating unscented food. I'd prefer a baby. Why? They suck. Like, I have to, like, you know, what do you mean you want to wait for this year's, like, you want to wait for the 2024s to hatch? I got 2023s ready right now that are pounding food. Well, I want the 2024s. The price is going to be the same, but this one I've established
is established.
Like,
yes.
You want that one that I'm going to have to fight?
Yeah,
not eat a frog. Like, I've done all the work for you. What more do you want?
Yeah, it is kind of like, you know, I was feeding today, right? So when I was feeding, I fed the roughies. I know this is kind of going off topic, but it's whatever.
Pythons. Well,
yeah, we're all talking python. So anyway, I go to feed it. I feed it. They eat right away without hesitation, nothing. Boom, set them up just the way you said, with the fence and the thing and the heat and the da. So they're locked in, right?
Right.
But when I was feeding it, you know, Dory was down there with me, and I said to her, I said, you know how special, you know how much sweat that Owen had to go through, you know how much stress, his heart rate was elevated way above. Like, only I'll appreciate the amount of work that went into these babies just taking this prey item without even thinking about it. Yep. And I'm like, you know, so there you go. Drink to you, my friend.
The appreciation, finally. Thank God. Mm-hmm. I think I had somebody buy a rhino, and they're like, what kind of fish do you like the scent with? I'm like, he's eating unscented rodents. Oh, I'm like, yes, you pay for me to do all that work. It's like, that's why his price is that, because
100%. Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is, it's like, you know, when a breeder is saying to you that, you know, get this one and it's a little more money, and you're saying, oh, I don't know if I want to pay that extra
I don't understand
money. Trust me, you do.
Well, I don't understand the want where it's like, if I called you and I said I need this, you'd be like, this one, this one right here, right? This has got the kind of color you like, and you know what, it's eating like a freaking horse. So there you go, take that one.
100%.
Perfect, fine. But people tend to want the fresh one. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
What the difference? Like, I'd prefer to raise it myself. Okay, and then they buy it and they're like, I can't get it to eat. Yeah, weird, right? Like, if you may be going for that one that's a year old that is established.
I wonder if that has to do with the fact that we preach, a lot of people that talk pythons preach a lot of times that if you're getting wild stuff, you want to get it as small as you possibly can.
Will agree. I'd agree to that. But
wild, yes.
Right. Yes.
Captive?
Wild. Yes.
No.
Captive? No.
Why do you want to do that extra work?
Exactly. Like, if anything, you want a little bit of an older thing, because now it's established. Now it's rocking and rolling. Now I don't need to worry about, you know, taking it at home, putting it in quarantine, and then feeding it a week later. Like, it's going to eat, because it's like almost 2.
Yeah. Justin is the same way with his Antaresia, right? And all the Antaresia that he sent me, like, solid as a rock, man. Like, no hesitation of food. And I know that they could be I know that he was just on the Retic podcast talking about Antaresia, and they did like an off topic show or whatever. They had Justin,
show, yeah.
And then they had him on talking about Antaresia, and he was saying that he's finding that, which is interesting. The one thing that he'd said, that he's really successful with the wheat belts or the western stems and the pygmy pythons. And this sort of ties into a discussion that, you know, we had on one of the herb trips with Rob, and sort of saying, like, you know, if your snake room is set up as a desert, you probably don't want to have rainbow boas there.
Yeah, like, maybe
you know what I mean?
Yeah, stay in your lane, or make another room. Like,
correct. Like, whatever you want to do.
Right. You need to understand. Yeah. Play to your strengths. Like, my strength is Australian Indonesian pythons.
Right.
Okay. There's some overlap. Okay.
Yeah. Like, your colubrids fit into.
They do.
Your Indo python things.
It's weird
because
the Asian colubrids seem to fit in more than the North American ones. So it's like I keep having better luck with the Asian colubrids and stuff than like North American, but it's whatever. But yeah, they fit in there. But then there's also other stuff that you can dabble into that's from different parts of the world that are all kind of still in the same longitudinal, it just kind of shifts over a little bit.
It was sort of like, Justin was saying about how not that he doesn't have success with the spotteds or the children's, but it's not as obviously there must be a measure that he's saying that these desert ones, the western stems and the pygmies, they're solid for me. I can produce these, no issues, no problems, no nothing. And where the more tropical Antaresia is that could be, like one year he might get a clutch, the next year he might not, we've talked about it. I can produce carpet pythons and olive pythons, and then and everything else is we'll see. It might take some tweaking. It might take separate rooms. It might take different stuff. I had to pull the bredli out of the room, and even then I don't necessarily breed them every year. Yeah, I want to talk about bredli on the next Carpets and Coffee.
Yeah, I like bredli. Apparently I'm getting a clutch. I just didn't know about that.
Oh, surprise!
Well, I knew about it, but I was not expecting it to go well, and it's going well. So
the Afors male I have with the female, she's just starting to turn colors. Dude, this thing is red. Holy shit! It's red, and I'm like, oh my God, this snake is so beautiful. Thank you, Robert.
You fall in love with them all over again when you get a new appreciation or the colors start.
I noticed with a smaller collection, I appreciate and spend. It's not like I'm holding them, but I spend more time paying attention to them. If that makes sense.
You don't have to.
There's not as much.
But you don't have to open the door and be like, paper, scrub,
yes,
more paper, snake again. You can. I mean, I slowly get there, but every once in a while, because I still have the numbers, I have to take a pause and appreciate it. And I try to break up my chores throughout the week, but it's 2 hours a night. I'm doing something. Either I'm sitting here talking to you, or I'm downstairs doing about 2 hours worth of snake stuff.
Yeah.
And even then, I still have more chores to do tomorrow. So, but I do have to take the breather every once in a while and appreciate. I was looking at my caramel tiger that I produced this year for myself, the male, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with you, but Jesus Christ, it was that's
pretty awesome.
That's a pretty snake. That's a good snake. Yeah,
like Molly 2.0.
Exactly. Yep.
This makes my heart go pitter patter. And then here's another one that again today. I haven't looked at them in a while, but they're really starting to put size on my poison ivy stuff. They look just like her.
Good.
I'm like, fuck yeah. It took a long time. But
now you're like, I got to get off the bench and do something about that. But
yeah. Well, I started feeding the shit out of all my snakes, like pounding them with food. They know that something is about. They're like, oh, well, we've had all for the past 2 years. And now it's all of a sudden we're just getting hammered with the food. They're like, did Eric go away and Owen is watching us? What is going asshole?
On? It's hilarious because so my Timors, when I got them from Rob, were skittery and didn't like being in cages and stuff like that.
Sure.
And they've now matured to this. They don't give a fuck if you're looking at them kind of snakes.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, okay, we're at the point where I think we're going to, and I told you my male destroyed his cages here every day this summer.
Yeah.
The water bowl, the paper was smashed into the water bowl.
Oh, shit.
Everything was tore apart because the female was their cages are back to back.
Okay.
So he knew she was there. And I'm like, great. She needs another year. She might have ovulated. I didn't want to push her to get 3 eggs or whatever.
Right.
I want this same enthusiasm for next year because this will be. We're going to give it a shot this year because they're like I said, they don't give a shit. They're eating everything in sight. They'll take food off the tongs. They're on medium large rats. I think this summer I'm going to get some. I'm going to get some XLs and stuff like that. And I'm really going to push the two of them as we go into winter. And then when they come up, I'm going to give them the same kind of heavy feeding right when they come up. And then it's just going to like turn the spigot off, introduce.
Okay. I hope it works.
I do too. I wouldn't know what to do with myself if that happened. It'd be like the white lip thing all over again. I'd be like, I don't think we're getting it, guys. You're like, it's basking belly up. No.
I feel the egg, man.
Like they're right there. She is actively laying them. Yeah, we'll see.
No,
like,
they're not hatched yet.
Well, that's step one. We have to hatch them now. It's like, what? Yep.
I know why people say that, but it always just like, can't we just take the moment?
I can't. That's like
I know it's like everybody says it's like, oh well, they're not hatched yet. And it's just like, just take the win,
at me
man.
with the roughies. You're like, well, you just take the fucking win.
Yeah, just take the win.
Take the win.
Yes, we all understand that they're not hatched out of the egg. Therefore, we are looking at eggs. We don't see snakes. We see eggs. We understand what's going to happen. Unless you're an idiot. You're probably going to get babies out of those eggs.
To hatch. Yes. Like, it's going to happen.
Unless they're blackheads.
Right. Well, I don't know what. Yeah,
or Bolins.
No, it's over there. Over there. Put those species over there. But
yeah. Otherwise, yes, they're going to hatch. But everybody's just like, well, they're not snakes yet. And it's just like, okay. All right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Live in the moment, man. Anyway, back to breeding.
Back to breeding.
As we sort of diverted off of
right. Anyway, my approach for Mac eggs and Dunai eggs are going to be the exact same when it comes to carpet eggs. So it's going to be 87.7 in the incubator, with a perlite mixture, water, perlite base, and then a plastic light diffuser that the eggs sit on. Mm-hmm. Is that combat or breeding?
That is combat.
Cool. Mm-hmm. I have to talk with Kohler. Kohler's got a chance. I want to say it was this year or it might be next year because he did introduce his Dunai. He has a chance to produce every single Lyasis species in 1 year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I know he's getting locks from his Savus.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I know he's done Max, but and Waters, but I think it was maybe this year or next he had a chance at producing every single one. And I think he has the same things that we come into where it's like everything's looking good. He's getting locks and fucking nothing. What the hell? Like, it's like, where'd it go?
That's different, right? Yeah. That's different because you're getting locks. Okay.
Pain.
That don't mean shit. Right. Okay. Yeah. So I understand why you would be like, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Exactly. If the eggs hit the ground, you can start getting excited.
But when you got eggs in an egg box in an incubator, it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah, all right, I'll admit now. So the last I spoke with him, he had locks from his Savus and his Dunai, and I know he got Olive's eggs this year, so I'm not sure if he got everything else. So,
yeah, see, this is from the Blue Bible, and they call them male Indonesian water pythons combating at the IHR. So, funny story about breeding of Macklots pythons. I'll kind of go through if in the Blue Bible. Well, let's start with this. If you didn't listen to our discussion with Richard Ross,
stop now, go back and listen to that, and then come back
to that. Right. Because
welcome back.
Yeah. The first successful mating of Macklots pythons occurred at the IHR during an accidental decline in temperature.
I love that.
Accidentally, remember what he was talking about?
That's also how he got the white lips. He's like, I don't know, it got a little bit cooler, and then all of a sudden everything's breeding. I'm like, you son of a bitch.
100%. Yes. So this event led to the discovery that temperature variation plays a fundamental role in boyd reproduction, and that's from Ross and Larman, 1977. So they say that the gestation period for this species is about 60 days. Clutch size is about 8 to 14 eggs. We're talking Macklots at this point.
Right, yeah.
They don't the muscle contractions for thermoregulation have been observed in incubating females. So I guess they're one of those, which seems odd to me if water pythons don't. and the temperature is pretty stable, you would think that they wouldn't, but I don't know.
Again, and we talked about this. Like,
I might have to ask Dale DiNardo about.
Well,
that
the thing we talked about it with Dale, where it's like, well, all right, they do it, but do they do it enough to actually do anything?
Well, there was an experiment that they did at the IHR, and an incubating female was maintained at varying temperatures between 85 and 90 degrees, right? This is going back to the days when they said that you had to keep pythons at 90 degrees. Remember those days?
Yeah. Yes.
When the ambient temperature was 8 degrees or 8 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, the female stopped thermoregulating and positioned herself in a loose coil about the eggs. When the ambient temperature fell below 88, she coiled tightly around the eggs and began muscular contractions.
Okay.
So I guess they have to stay around 88.
I guess.
But I would imagine that
mine are definitely not that. Like,
the incubation temperature varies from 56 to 62 days. The short periods associated with higher incubation temperatures, I guess if they hatched at 56 days, it was a higher temperature, which we kind of know.
Right.
The interesting thing was a clutch of fertile eggs incubated at 84 degrees failed to hatch. And the dead eggs were found to have normal, partially developed embryos when opened. So, I don't know. That was from the Blue Bible. That was their...
Interesting.
So
I thought the 84, the fact that the 84 was not... I got those carpets to go, and they couldn't have been... I'm not even sure they even made it to 84 degrees.
The ones that were unplugged?
Yeah. Is that because I caught them in enough time to keep the babies?
Maybe.
But even then, they were the worst babies I've ever had to try to get going.
They're carpets.
They're
the superior python.
I mean, obviously, more bulletproof of a python is what the problem was.
Clearly.
You simple liasis folk. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
No wonder they're not as popular. And I don't really have any information on breeding Dunai. I would imagine it's pretty much the same. I would imagine
it has to be.
I think a lot of those Indonesian species are, and again, you look at the people, look at Ryan Young, right? He's very successful with Indonesian pythons. Not that he's not with Australian pythons, but him himself said that he feels like when he's really solid with Australian stuff, his Indonesian stuff suffers. And then when vice versa. So it's kind of it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like, if you have a room set up where you're keeping a desert dryer style python in the tropical rainforest type of room.
What could be the worst? What would be the worst thing that you could possibly put in a desert? Like if you had a room for desert species, what's would it be python. Would it be some sort of I'm even thinking would it be some sort of frog? Would it be just something where it's shrivels up and just it's mummified? Yeah.
The thing that blew my mind of herping out west.
Yes.
Is the amount of frogs and toads and amphibians and stuff that live in the desert. Even Coleonyx, those geckos.
Yeah.
I'm just this just seems weird to me that you would be in this desert. I mean,
what are you doing here, friend?
Yeah. I remember when we were in West Texas, the one year it was 100 degrees at midnight. And it was midnight.
Yeah.
And I was I thought the desert was supposed to cool down at night.
I thought it was supposed to be colder at night. It is colder.
It was 135 degrees today.
Yeah. That's the problem is when you start at 120 and it goes down to 100, correct, it got cooler. All right. Yeah.
All right. So I figured for closing, we'll talk about, so I just wanted to, I think we sort of hit it on this beginning, but you have some of the breeders that do it. Obviously there's Ryan Young, the GOAT, right? And you have Nick, I think he dabbles with Macklots, and I know he has Dunai.
Yes.
And I know he dabbles with them. I don't think he hasn't bred them as of yet, right?
No.
Macklots he has, but not Dunai.
Yes, Nick has bred Max because he had a pair of Max, and then his female killed his male, and then I sent him a male. And then he got Macklots. I think he's produced them again after that. But
my original one came from him.
Yes. So Dunai, the whole thing with Dunai is in Dunai in the country.
Yeah.
So Macklots have always been here, ebb and flow with the amount and localities and all that crap. So Mac's always been here. Dunai at one point were here, but then not here. People kind of lost interest in them. And the thing about Indonesia is with importation, you have a certain amount of animals you will bring in. And then next year you apply and you can only bring in the amount of animals you brought in last year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask for less, you then can't come the next year and ask for more. So at one point, somewhere down the road, they stopped importing Dunai. So there was no really kind of a need or a want to go through all the bullshit to add them back onto the importation list and stuff like that. So there were older animals kicking around the U.S. And I want to talk like they were maybe close to like 40. Like they were like not 40 the amount as in like 40 age. Like they were older animals. I know Ryan got a group. And I believe that the female that KJ got was part of that group, but had peeled off somehow and made its way back. And then I know that Nick brought some over from Europe that were either wild caught or captive born and bred, which were completely different. So
I wonder if they were those ones that we looked at earlier.
I don't know. Okay. So what ended up happening is, so remember that whole thing of me looking for a Macklots python?
Yeah.
I found an adult Macklots python and it was at East Bay Vivarium.
Mm-hmm.
And they also had listed Dunai. And I'm like, oh, that's bullshit.
Right.
There's no chance in hell they have a Dunai. I mentioned it on the show live and KJ called them and said, I want that thing. He made them sex him for it because they had it listed as a male Dunai.
Uh-huh.
He had them recheck it. It's a female.
Oh,
he buys it, has it sent to him. It comes with like mouth rot and a couple other things. He fixes it and sends it to Ryan that has some of those older males as well as Nick's that Nick had imported. So the first breeding of Dunai in the United States is this female that at one point had peeled off from either, Ryan's older animals or had been from a different level. Either way. Okay. This KJ's female and one of Ryan's males. It's the first breeding of Dunai that happens in the U.S. in years. I imagine it happened a couple times prior before they went missing, but the reintroduction of Wetars happens then. And so then KJ and Ryan split the clutch. Okay. The following year, they do it again, and KJ and Ryan split the clutch. And then the adult female goes back to KJ. Okay. So then it has Ryan with his small Dunai, his younger ones. Now, a couple people at this point get a few. I know that oh my God, his name is escaping me. Warren. I think Warren got a pair of Dunai. Yep. And I think that Port City Pythons got a pair of Dunai. A couple people get some pairs. They start distributing, which is I love because you don't want to put the eggs in the same basket. I got the male Dunai from KJ. I know Kohler got a pair from KJ as well. So they've been spreading them around. The following year was one of Ryan's females to one of Nick's males. Okay. So then they split up that clutch where Ryan had a couple and Nick's got a couple. I'm not sure if Ryan produced any this year, if he was just giving everybody a year off when it came to Dunai. And I'm not sure if next year is going to be like kids of various pairings because those first couple ones that were produced are now starting to get old enough. So, okay. Yeah. Cool. So that's Dunai. You should start seeing them more often because there was a kick when Dunais were being produced the first couple times. A couple people actually went out to go get a couple, wild caughts, which is how I got my pair. Is somebody JS, you know him quite well, got a couple and they were sent out to various people and
were they legit?
Mine are legit. Okay. Yeah. All right. But it's one of those, I think last year there were a lot of wild caught baby boys up for sale, not any girls. And it just kind of seemed like people were seeing that there was an uptick in people asking about them and inquiring about them.
Right.
And they brought them in, and it kind of took a while for them to either move on or move up or whatever, because again, the people that would have been interested in them have them. You know, I have them, other people have them, and it's like, all right, well, they almost seem like they're not an every year python. Like right. I split my pythons into several groups. It's right. I'll breed it every year.
Right.
Or I'll breed one of them every year. Like I will try to have a carpet every year because it's enough I can do, and it's enough I can do with that, playing with my various projects to do that. But I will not breed olive pythons every year.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes
clutch
sense.
Is big. They take a while to sell, and I got to find somebody who wants an olive python. I wouldn't breed Dunai every year. The plan is to have them set up and then maybe do like Dunai, and then the next year Max, and then next year Savus, and after that Dunai, and then Max.
Rotate it, right? Yeah, that makes sense.
Break it up. You know, it would be kind of that thing. Now, I'll try every year with things like Timors, White Lips, because I might that's not going to happen every year. If that happens every year, I retire.
You try every year, but
you try every year, and then one year you get it, you're like, yes, right. And then you milk that puppy for as long as it's worth. But
sure, well, unless you're Lisa,
you're Lisa, and Lisa touches it, and it's like gold. Yeah,
I think it's because she's got a smaller collection, and her collection is geared towards. Not to mention the fact that she's just brilliant when it comes to snakes. You know what I mean? I mean, there's no doubt about it. She's infuriating. She really knows her shit.
I'm kidding. I love you, Lisa. Please don't say that. But it's the idea of, again, the smaller collection. She can pay more attention to the details.
Yes. Yeah.
And get into it. But then also, I think she got so fucking lucky with the pair of adults that she has. That pair of black-faced white lips, her like original pair, Jet and Pearl. She got the perfect pair. Like they settled in, they're into a rhythm. They don't hate each other. Like, oh my fucking God. Like all the things that could have happened. Right. Just like right through it.
But also part of that has to be, like I'm saying, because she has a smaller collection. Yeah. Like you're saying, she's paying attention to more details. So maybe she's able to get them dialed in.
She can
more quicker. You know,
yeah. Well, she can also see if something goes wrong.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. And during that, she's sort of making observations of what's going on and what's going. And again, because she's a fellow snake nerd like us, she's paying attention to those details and reacting to them, or researching on like what's going on, or you know what I mean, that kind of thing. So yeah.
It's like how one day after, like, listen, I will eventually break mentally and physically. And then when I redo the collection with just diamond pythons, I'll start with like 2.
Yeah.
And I'll be the best diamond python breeder around because I'll have my 2 and I'll figure it out slowly. It's going to be weird because it'd be like diamonds and roughies, because I don't think I'd break that much. I don't think I'd break entirely, but you know.
Yeah, you'd have to have roughies.
I mean, come now.
And then you'd have to have, and then you'd have to have, and then you'd have to
listen.
The retake can go.
There we go. Finally. So like, it'd be one of those things where, imagine walking downstairs and be like, sell them all. And Melissa would be like, so the Timors? Well, no, obviously not the Timors. All right. Well, what about the rhinos? I can't sell the rhinos.
I was thinking Bort and the cats.
Yeah. So we have a corn snake, the retic, the tortoise, and the cats.
Yes.
Oh, like I said, everything goes.
Everything I don't like has to.
Everything I don't go gone. Yeah, it's.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's my process. You just got to walk through it. You just got to keep going. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm experiencing it now. Like I was saying earlier, it's like I'm spending more time.
Enjoying.
I don't know what you want to say. Yeah. Oh, it's so, dude. When I can clean my snake room in like 2.5 hours,
Like, I have time to go watch television.
I'm like, wow, there's so much time for activities.
when you're not like me and you're like, I've got my coffee and I will go downstairs and I will do some cleaning and then I will, holy shit, it's 5:00 on a Saturday. I don't have a weekend, dude. Like, it is.
Yeah, I don't miss that. I do miss it when we're talking about pythons that I had and don't have. Like tonight, we're talking about Macklots and Dunai. I never had Dunai, and it's like, oh yeah. But then I'm like, no, stay the course.
I'm right here.
Yeah,
so like, yeah, you're like, all that has to happen is I have to be like, cool, I got Max, and you'd be like, I would like to. Okay, like,
I know this is going to sound really crazy, and you're probably going to take away one of my reptile cards for.
I might.
But the normal ball python that I have, dude, I fucking love that snake.
Stop it.
I do. I really do, man.
Stop it.
And
so
I thought about it, and I was like, I guess if I was going to add any pythons that are outside of the, no, I don't want more. No. It's just,
you're like, I'm replacing everything, getting 32 quart bins of ball. Oh my God, no, went the other way.
I just appreciate, I guess it's because it was like my first.
It's nostalgia.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And it's just a normal, it's nothing to it. There's no fancy bells and whistles to it.
How many genes is it? None. What the hell?
It has none. It has the wild gene. But the only other species that I like really dig and would get that's outside of Australia to get back into is Angolans.
I need a male.
Yeah. Well, I maybe over the summer I'll look for a male and then send you a male and then
I'll just do that again. I mean, it's your female.
I know.
Why are we doing this? I'm just breeding your shit for you. I can't wait for the hypos to hatch because I'm gonna be like, you need to come here, and then I'm gonna pull them out of the incubator and be like, all right, which one do you want? Like, just grab it. It's gonna be like, all right, well, I'll go back here with the 2 animals that you paid for and produced them.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that when you said, I was like, oh wait, he bred it to the snake, the female that I gave him. And now it's the
you could have done this without me, but all right.
I was like, yeah, all right. Well, I guess
that's
where we are.
And I'm trying to think about what I want to do with him next year. And it's like, well,
Exantic?
I don't have anything. I don't have any Exantics that's ready. I don't have any Exantic girl.
Well, again, not to give you more
You're like, I'll just give you another female. God damn.
But, and I know this is, whether you want to say it's head or not, but I have an adult, huge female head Exanic coastal.
I just got rid of my huge female head Exanic coastal because it never bred with anything.
Yeah, well, this one's bred 3 times.
All right, well, okay. All right, better.
Yeah, she's produced 3 clutches.
I mean, he could go with that. I have a tiger jag that I was hoping to get up to size because then do hypo tiger jags.
Well, that would be cool too. Yeah, for sure.
Then it's like, oh no, a hypo tiger fell out of the hypo tiger jag clutch. Like, it's nice shit. But then there's other stuff. Like, I think in the next, I have Exanic tigers that I think he'll go with that are going to look fantastic. But
well, if you have Exanic tigers,
but they're not. They're babies. They were born this year.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, they were born last year. God,
well,
all the breeding seasons blend together.
I can't keep them straight anymore.
Stop.
It's just one thing.
Oh my God. So yeah, last year I produced Exanic tigers. The male is gorgeous. The male is like silver and he's a tiger, like stripes, all like everything perfect. Female is no slouch, but she's not him. I got it. Okay. I have 100% het Exanic tiger female proven.
Oh, well, what the hell, man?
Yeah, I forgot. Buddy has it.
Okay.
I forgot. She's with Buddy. So I gotta go get her and then bring her back.
I need her back.
Yeah, give me.
Well, if he wants a het Exanic, he can take my female.
There you go. I'll talk to him.
It's not a tiger, but she's.
Well, yeah, proven. But he just Odessa is mean apparently, so he was bitching to me about that. So.
Oh, mine's not mean.
No. Oh well.
Not until
where's the fun in that? Like, yeah, I don't.
Not until he gets it.
Well, she's the daughter of that female tiger.
Oh, okay.
So both of them are horrible creatures, like rip your face off. But the second they're gravid, they just lay in your arms. And I'm like, okay, I'm not bleeding. This is a sign. Like, it's so.
You know what you're going to want some from is the pepper tigers.
Yeah,
you're gonna want some from that.
Yeah, but we're doing that thing again where we're both building up projects and we're gonna do swaps because I got Brisbane's coming next year. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we got that going, and you know, I think in the next year, it's not gonna be next year. It's not gonna be 2025 or 2026. That red tiger jag I got from you is going to the red tiger boy.
Oh, that'll be nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll be real nice. That'll be good. Yep. I'm curious to see. So Molly's obviously, well, I'll tell you about what I got going on next year because I looked at it today. It's funny that we were talking about it, and then we'll finish out with this.
We'll leave. Yeah.
So obviously inlands.
Yes.
Cool. My female is pounding food.
Good.
So that's good. She is. She's eaten. I fed her large rats. I haven't fed large rats in forever. Obviously, my Russian tiger girl, and then I have Eric's Russian tiger girl, and then your Russian tiger boy. That'll be a.
I love how we now know that he's in a different room because you're like these two, and then he's over there.
Yeah. Well, she's. I kept her in here because I want her in a cage, just because she came in a cage. You know what I mean? So I wanted like a big cage and perching and all that stuff. And then so we got inlands, we got the Russian tigers. I want to try to do. Molly is going to go with that red that I got from Balin. That's just insane. Nice. So hopefully just make more red tigers without the jag. That's my hope.
Yep.
And see what happens. Like if I can clean, I want to see how it differs from
the other red
stuff. Right.
Yeah.
My citrus tiger project took a back seat because my main female, she passed, and now I have to wait to grow up these other ones that maybe the following year I'll have them.
Yep.
Let's see what else. Coastal carpet wise. Oh, and I'm going to start the white tiger project. That's going to start. So I'm excited about that.
Not one. Anything I would have been interested in until Darren ruined that one because I'm like, white tiger, that's cute. Now I'm like, talk to me more about these white coastals. Like, white coastals, you say? Like, okay,
exactly.
Yeah,
gelatins, obviously. I think I'm getting the pair back from Keith.
Yeah.
And because I lost my male, so I'll use that male and I'll breed it to my female.
Keith Tomahawk dunked those things, and now he's like, they don't swim. I want nothing but aquatic reptiles.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, well, all right. You have to trade it. You have to trade him a nice oxalotl for it.
Yeah. What else?
He did tell me if I get him shinnies, I could take anything in his collection.
Yeah, I know.
Wait.
Barbecue.
Wait a minute. Like
anything?
Because I'll find you shinnies. I'll get you shinnies.
Yeah. Diamonds, obviously. That's very high on the priority list. But
Melissa and I were talking.
The cool thing is next year I'll have 2 pairs.
Well, Melissa and I were talking, and I'm like, I really want a pair of diamonds. And she's like, and this is I think she likes to do this to watch me squirm. And I'm like, she's like, well, reduced pattern or no? And I'm like, I mean, I could get a reduced pattern, right? Yeah. The boy could be a reduced pattern.
Yeah, why not?
But then it's like, well, she's like, well, yeah, and then you can just have reduced patterns and normals. I could do that.
Yeah.
Yes, and then I'm like running around the house like, yeah, that would be fine. Like, yeah, that's.
So I got a male reduced pattern diamond, so I can do reduced pattern diamond to reduced pattern diamond.
Yeah,
but my main male is normal.
Right.
That came from that lineage.
Perfect.
Yeah. And my 2 females, it would be good. And then bredli. So I'm hoping that I can get a bread like clutch, that would be fantastic.
And are those your fours, or do you need just,
No, it would be the Hypo Stonewash.
Okay. Right.
To my Stonewash boy.
Nice.
And then let's see. I could do wheat belts.
Stimmies.
Oh, yes.
No. Yeah. No. Nope. No.
You're getting some of that.
No. We have 6 kittens. She's not getting stimmies.
I will tell Melissa that she must.
No, you don't need
get
to tell
rid
her
of the
shit.
kittens.
No,
and take these Stimsons.
They're already asking her if we want more, and I'm like, no.
It's the deal. Kitties,
no
or
Fosters?
Stimsons,
Stimmies. Okay, yeah.
See, there you go.
All right.
So maybe I'll get something with that.
See, and that's the problem in the back of my head. I'm like, Aunt Teresia, those are frog feeders. Wait, like it's wait. Sam,
what are you
shit here is frog.
Like what the fuck?
It's really no longer a valid excuse. No. Like it's.
And then, the funny thing about Aunt Teresia is like, and I said this ever since I saw that granite spotted python you have. It's like, I can't believe that's a python. It's so small, but it's a python.
When I was doing the whole computer swapping thing, I found pictures of those spotted.
Oh, really?
Like, oh God.
I thought they were the coolest, man.
They're
like one of the coolest things in your collection. Cause that was the first time I ever saw Aunt Teresia,
I broke those things. Those were horrible. Yeah.
But they were cool. And I think, and poison ivy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I have wild caught dark female that's going to go with that whatever male gets the job done. Because remember, all the ones I have are males. They're all males. I kept back all males because it was one female and all males. So
you're just gonna be like, whoever does it, it doesn't matter.
I think I'm just gonna go the darkest one and go for that. And the other thing I have that after I produce them, so there's 2 things: double head snows and exantic granites. I figured that you would want one of those.
Exantic granites? No, I'm done, dude. The het granites that I have now they're small, they're finicky about their food. They were eating everything in sight, and now they're just like and I'm like, all right, you guys are pissing me off. So the next step is going to be, I'm just going to go buy those adults from Chris and just put them in a cage
and breed them and call it a day.
Sell them, sell the credits, sell everything. Be done. I did it. All y'all can go to hell.
You can't ever say I didn't do it.
I'm gonna spend $500 to shut everybody up.
I know that must hurt your soul, man. Like you've read all these like crazy, hard to breed species, and every time Nick comes on, he's like, "Wow, they're the simplest ones to breed."
It's in the back. It's like I bred the white lips, and then like the wind blows by, and it's like, "Hi, Jay." It's like, God.
What have you produced?
The wind, like it just. Takes me out at the knees, like so
got to keep you humble, man. You know what I mean?
I know.
We can't all be like rare species breeder.
Listen, and you know what? It's honestly the thing that chews at the back of my head is like, you produce white lips once, whoop-de fucking do. Any idiot can run into a clutch, do it again, and I'm like, I'm trying.
Yeah, you were talking all this shit about Lisa being lucky.
I am the worst.
And you're like,
I am the worst person when it comes to that. I am my biggest critic, and I'm you don't know white lips. You only bred them once. Lisa's getting clutch after clutch.
And just punching himself in the mirror.
Idiot.
Like, you suck, man. Get your shit together, McIntyre.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
If I don't produce Ruffies this year, I'm like, you fluked with them too, you moron.
Produce a clutch, right? Didn't he produce?
Maybe.
I think Matt just had a clutch. No. Matt.
Matt just had a clutch. Matt just had a clutch. Okay. Yep. Matt just had a clutch. And
2 years for him? 3 years.
Yeah. He had them a couple years ago?
I think it was last year. I remember.
No, he didn't
trying to sex those tiny little babies.
I thought his Ruffies were a year old at that point. I don't think he got him last year. I think he got him the year before. Because didn't he move, or was that?
I don't know. They're pretty fucking small. I don't. Like you said, man, all the time just runs together. So I'm going to go with what you said.
I thought he didn't get any last year, but he got.
You may be right.
Before.
No,
and he was selling yearlings last year.
Jesus, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Wow.
Because his pair and my male are from the same clutch.
Oh.
My older boy.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm waiting for him to lose interest and sell those, but he won't.
No,
he likes them like a jerk.
Yeah. He's got a sweet setup for them too.
He does, dude. I mean, but I'm excited. I think. Yeah.
I guess. When he produces those, I'll have to go.
Oh no, you'll have to go sex the babies. Yeah. Oh no, yeah. But Matt's crushing it with other stuff too. Didn't he get his Extreme Gene marbles and a couple other things going this year?
I think he said that he was laying back a little bit this year. Like I think.
He's going to come do. He's going to come do a Hamburg show.
Is he? Oh, that's cool.
Well, it's because Balin and Kohler tend to take the summers off. They don't do like June or August, and then they do Tinley. And this year Tinley's going to be the same time as Hamburg. So they're not going to do that. So, like, I think Matt's going to plug in there maybe once or twice.
That's cool.
I have my own table now, so it would be cool because then Matt would set up right next to me.
Nice.
Which I'm like, oh, cool. I get to hang with Matt all day. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, that was Macklots.
That was a Macklots play.
Macklots and Wetar Island.
And then various other things. Yeah.
And a whole bunch of tangents.
Yeah.
So that's how we always do it. But
that's how we roll.
Yeah. Let's see. If you wanted to support the show, here's some ways that you can follow us on Morelia Python Radio on all of the socials and Morelia Python Radio Network. You can subscribe and share the podcast. That always helps get the word out. And check out the rest of the podcasts on the network. They're Monitor guys keeping crew. They started. They got 2 in the tank. One just came out today. Aussie Herp guys are back.
Yeah.
Yep. I know Luke, he's doing frogs big time now. Australian frogs. So,
didn't know Australia had frogs.
Boa's, I think the next one on deck for those guys is the Dennis McNamara episode. So
nice.
That should be cool. I'm trying to think. Colubrid and Colubroid Radio, those guys were just, they just had, what was his name? I forget.
Hold on. I'll pull up my feed for them.
They talk milk snakes, though.
Who doesn't like milk snakes?
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, they're probably the prettiest colubrid in North America.
David Dem.
Yes, that's it.
Yep, all things milk snakes.
That was a pretty good show. That was a motherfucker to edit because there's things where their talking was all out of sync. So, like, imagine having to put together somebody's conversation that you weren't there for, so you don't know when they're supposed to laugh or talk, or
also in a species you don't keep, so you don't know what's funny.
So I don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm just like, oh man! As soon as I see it's out of sync, I'm like, oh, this is gonna take me 7 hours.
I'll have you know.
Oh man,
the Collier people nearly broke Eric. Like,
they almost did. They almost did. I like the challenge though, but yeah, man, when it's out of sync, it's fucking terrible.
Fun.
That's why I've been not liking Squadcast as of late, but because it seems like they're not fucking it up where it's all out of sync. Yeah. So yeah, you should check out those episodes. On a side note, Kush did an episode with Ryan Young. I don't know if I talked about this when I came back. I listened to it when I was flying down because I listened to Brandon and then to Ryan after it. The best episode that Ryan Young has ever done.
Okay.
Hands down. There's so much information in this. There's like these little nuggets.
He hides them places. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm just like, man, how do I have to be a scrub reader in order to get Ryan to
in order to get Ryan
like
to pay attention?
A lowly carpet guy gets nothing.
Listen, he doesn't. We don't care about you and your carpet python.
Yeah.
I
love Ryan. He's a great guy. It was so good that I messaged both of them and said that was the best Python episode I've ever listened to, like just general Python talk that I've ever listened to, hands down. It was awesome. So if you haven't listened to that, you should definitely check that out.
It's funny. I was talking to Ryan the other week and I'm like, how's it going with the ring python? He goes, no one died. I'm like,
that's a good update.
I'm like, that's good. He's like, she went back on food, but no one died. I'm like, I'll take it. I'm like, I guess he's like, you want me to hang on to her? I'm like, yeah, I don't want her back.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'll be cool.
Yeah,
get a bunch of those.
Get some rings. Yeah.
All right, so there we go with that. We got Cold-Blooded Caffeine. We have an affiliate with those guys and our carpets and coffee blends. So you can go over there, use MPR 10, you get 10% off your order. Use the link in the show notes. It gives us a kickback too. So really cool.
Go do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Cold-Blooded Cafe.
The code is now MPR20 to get 20% off your order.
Ooh.
And if you do code FS250 for free shipping for orders over $250.
Okay. What is it?
FS250.
250. Okay.
So
okay.
There you go. Cool. And if you're anything like me, that's not a very high mark to get.
No, not at all.
250, you say? Like,
if I spent $250 on rodents, I would be like,
oh my God, yes.
The prices finally came down. Inflation is over.
The world is safe.
Yeah.
No. Oh God.
These eggs cost more than these mice.
Oh my God, dude. I went to the farmer's market and I filled up with, I had a ball because they had new fish there that were some different sizes. So I'm like, ooh. I had like $100 worth of fish, chicken necks, chicken hearts, all the other stuff.
What is this guy
frog legs? Yeah. They're like, this dude fucking weird. Like, whatever.
I need protein.
I need all this. But yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to learn more about Morelia, you can check out our website, MoreliaPythonRadio.com. And if you want to get in touch with us, MoreliaPythonRadio@gmail.com. We also have a Discord. So if you want to come and check that out.
And the Patreon.
Hanging us. And we also have a Patreon. And we have a merch store.
Yep.
So, check that out if you want to support the show even more. And we appreciate it.
Yeah. And then Carpet Fest is September.
Yep.
I forgot the actual day. I think it's like 14th. He says, not knowing.
14th.
No, wait. Yes, September 14th. Yeah. Okay. I was looking at August. I'm like, that's a Wednesday, you idiot. Okay, yeah, no. September 14th. So North Carpet Fest is September 14th. We will start announcing stuff and getting things ready as we get closer, but please mark it in your calendars and be prepared. And if anybody asks me when it is, I'm going to say I already said it. You clearly don't listen to the show.
Right.
So
said you suck.
You suck because you don't listen to the show. Now, if you come up to me and say, well, listen, I don't listen to the show, I'll be like, congratulations for you. So I'm sorry. I might have lost my cool there for a minute. I don't know what happened there. I went to the dark place. Anyway, so,
it happens.
That's all we have for everybody tonight. So we'll say thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch everybody next week for some more Morelia Python Radio. Good night.